Hello, very good afternoon to each and everyone. Today we have a special guest with sir, Mr. Eelco Schattorie. He has been the coach of Northeast United and the only coach for Northeast United who has been able to take them into the playoffs of ISL. And he has also managed Kerala Blasters. He's also been part of East Bengal team. So today he will be with us and we'll let to know a lot of things from him. So, sir, before we start discussing on any points, so much welcome and thank you so much for giving us your time and having to talk to us, sir.
Um, Absolutely a pleasure to be here. I am currently in India in a bubble, so any time I can spend with friends all over India, and I think this is the Northeast backyard. I guess what will be your main audience. Yeah, that always has a special place in my heart. So very happy to be here.
Sir, before we start into talking of ISL and Northeast, we'd like to know a little bit more about you yourself. How did you first come to India and how was the thing that happened? So, can you please guide us through this, sir?
Let me start. I am from Holland. I guess everybody will know that. Um, I left Holland with a colleague of mine that was to the Middle East. And because I met my current wife, I have only one wife, but when I met my wife, that's how I basically got stuck. And by stuck, I mean it in a positive way in the Middle East. So a lot of my coaching I did in Asia, in the Middle East. At a certain point, Indian national team was coached by Wim Koevermans. He is also from Holland, and his agent asked me if I was interested to join a club in India. At first, I didn't want to do that because I didn't have any idea about that about India. Then I had a phone call with Wim Koevermans, who was the national team coach, and I asked him like, "How is India? What's going on over there?" And basically, yeah, it came down to that India is a sleeping giant, and that you basically try to get a foot in the door for the future. You never know what's going to happen. I was free at the moment, and that's how I came to India with the Prayag United. Unfortunately, I stepped into this club halfway. That means it was not from the beginning of the season. We still had a good season. We won the AFI Shield. And we had a really good second part of the league where we were unbeaten. Then the next year, I renewed my contract, but unfortunately, this club, the sponsor that was at that period of time was a chit fund, so the sponsor left, and the money was not there anymore, and I started the season, but I had to leave because they couldn't pay my salary anymore. I have a family to feed, so that's how I basically came into India, and also the first time how I left India.
Sir, 2015 was the time when you were with East Bengal. So East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, talking about these teams, these are the teams with a huge background support, with a very great glory, and the supporters are also very passionate. So how was the
Yes.
stint in East Bengal, sir? How did you like the atmosphere? How were the supporters?
Um, Let me first say that it's a little bit a part of my career as a coach that I many times step into a club that either kicked out their coach, or they're trying to rebuild. They're trying to so you basically don't come into a set situation. When I came to East Bengal, if I look back now, I came really at the wrong moment, and this is not an excuse, and I will explain it a little bit. This was at the first ISL season, so all the players, a lot of players from East Bengal, they were playing in the ISL. I came in February, so the ISL finished, and then they started the league, and I basically started. I came and right away had to start. We had the AFC Cup, but without having any influence on which players to bring. There was just a set group. That was one. And secondly, there were some internal problems with the club,
Management.
where the management, the one of the owners, or the president, he was detained in prison. So that was a very, very difficult situation based on building a team. But the second thing, because all those players came back from the ISL, and if you remember well, that ISL was held in 2 months or 3 months, very short time with a lot of games. So I right away also got a lot of injuries during that period that I had to coach with East Bengal. So I stayed with East Bengal from February till April. So it was only a 3 or 4 month league. We ended, I think, third. I still did a decent, good job, I think. But to become champion, you need longer time. As I said, players with injury come back. Was a disruption of the structure. But the supporters, was beautiful. I had one, how do you call it, derby. But through this there's a story in this derby that when we played against Mohun Bagan, I had to coach this game with a kidney stone. So on the sideline, I was holding myself, but I had a kidney stone that was terribly paining me. Unfortunately, it had nothing to do that we lost that game because of that, but that always stays with me. We lost 1-0, I think, in the last 10 minutes. But it's absolutely a special game. The supporters, they are tremendous, engaged, and that puts a lot of pressure, especially when you lose. You get a lot of negative messages, but that's part of being a coach, and we'll have thick skin. And I'm still thankful and grateful for East Bengal, and also wishing them, as see East Bengal this moment, getting into the ISL, and hopefully they do well.
Sir, for the first time when you were in Northeast, the first season for you in Northeast was as an assistant coach, and the next season you became the head coach of the team. So we would like to know a little bit about Northeast United, sir. How was the team when you first came? How did it perform? And what are your views on the team, sir?
Look, it's always I try to, when you leave a club, it is easy always to look back and say this was no good, that was no good, this was no good. And overall, what I want to hold on to is that we had a good success in the history of Northeast. They never qualified the year after. Last year they were almost last. So I'm very proud and was very happy to reach that with the Northeast. The memories that I have, the good memories, were mainly based on the players. We were like a good, tight family together, and also the supporters. That means I got a lot of support. I remember I have some good banners. So that's the positive. The negative, of course, was when the season was over. Northeast basically did not want to renew me. The reasons for that, I don't think that's a good thing to share. That is something I don't want to be negative about the club, but of course it's an extraordinary decision to, when you reach the semifinals of the playoffs for the first time, and then the next season you would go. I did not leave. And I got another option to go to Kerala, but that was only after. That was later. That was when I was out of the club. So the only thing I can say, I don't want to go into details how, why, or what. And then the only thing I want to give to Northeast, also to the management, to John and to JB, who are running the club, that they year by year, get the right formula to be more stable and do a good job. Because one thing, I'm the type of person who basically, I always want to be transparent, honest, and open. But at the same time, being in India, I learned a little bit, that works also a bit against me, because people will say, this guy, he has a big mouth, or he always is a difficult person. While for me, I have only from my heart, either it was with Northeast, either it's with Kerala Blasters, even now, I just want to help improve football and, of course, be successful. And I think that's how the best way to describe it.
Sir, speaking of the team, after you left Northeast, you went to Kerala, and you and Ogbeche had some kind of chemistry between you. He played so good for you in Northeast also, but
Yes.
the next season was not the way you would have wanted. Kerala did not do too well, but as a coach, as a player, you have been into many clubs. I would like to ask you, sir, every time you don't get the result that you want to get, or every time you don't get the result that you are supposed to get, so how do you overcome from these things, sir? Because these things might be in your mind that I'm not doing well, or maybe I had one very good season, but the next season was not that good. So how do you overcome these things, sir?
That's very easy. Feedback from supporters, from management, is for me secondary. I always look at feedback from players. If players have the feeling they're not really communicating to you, or you get information that the players are not too happy with the playing style, and especially also players who are not in the starting 11, then I will start questioning things. But almost in every club where I worked, always the majority of players, I always got the feedback: coach, we improved, we have an attacking playing style. The reasons why you sometimes don't get result does not always mean that the coach is doing bad, or because I am 100% convinced about my qualities. Um, I know how to make a team play better football. I am tactically strong. I know how to influence a game. And if you look at last year, Kerala Blasters, and everyone can say whatever he wants, still under very difficult circumstances, we hit it the highest amount of goals that Kerala ever made. But if you look at the structure of the games, and I mean by I played 17 games, 17 with injuries, and that means continuously changing, and still I was creative enough. And I don't want to say fantastic, Eelco. I want to say that under very difficult circumstances, still we got certain results and we made progress. And unfortunately, that's not always what people see. And I compare it to FC Goa, who where coach Lobera is a fantastic coach, but 3 seasons he didn't win. But he got the time to build something. He also created a good playing style where they play attacking football. But in 3 seasons, he didn't win. So my point is, also as a club, you need to be patient. And yeah, unfortunately, I was not I was not getting the chance to continue this season. But that is what it is. We have to move on. That part is difficult for me, because um, if you build something and players give you positive feedback, but then still they put you aside. Yeah, that is difficult. That is true. But as long as players come back with good feedback, I will always be happy, because that's the most important. It's the same thing as a teacher in school. If a student says that he feels he really learned something, that is more important than eventually maybe he became the most successful professor, or whatever your career will be. If you learn something, that is always the most grateful thing you can get.
We have a question. Very nice to hear from you. How do you personally feel the standard is improved from I League to ISL, if any? How would you like to mention it, sir?
First of all, if you really want to improve, either if it's I League or ISL, there needs to be some kind of a system as a pyramid. That means you start at the grassroots, and there is improvement. But I think either you're an I League club or you're an ISL club, there should be some kind of a structure of youth department. That in the long run will make both leagues go up. Um, if you look at the difference between I League and ISL, yeah, it's basically that they have a better infrastructure when it comes to playing fields, having more foreigners, and that automatically brings up the level. That is also for the Indian players have more ability to learn. But the I League is an extremely important league where younger players at this moment get the chance to develop, because if they somehow would merge from I League to ISL, and there's nothing below that, that would not be good. So they are both very, very valuable, but ISL at this moment is the highest league, and as I said, they just have better infrastructure, and as I said, there are more foreigners there, so that automatically brings up the level.
Sir, speaking of more foreigners, one thing I would like to ask you: this ISL has actually been a type of a corporate tournament with more investors, with huge amount of money flowing in. But at times we have seen, sir, that there are players who have been brought from outside, who have uh, means who have not been at their best. I would like to say Diego Forlan, he is a one-time great, but he has not been that good in ISL. Dimitar Berbatov, sir, he is one of the best, but they have not performed in ISL because they were way around the peak. So,
Yeah.
is it worth enough to invest so much money in them, or we can
No,
try to
it's a
rope in some players to?
look. This is not a criticism to nobody, but it's a no-brainer that you had back in the days in America in the MLS, what is now MLS. They tried to also bring old players, but they were still on a younger age. The reason is to get a certain perception of good players that will bring the level up. But if in the ISL, the first 1, 2, 3 seasons probably, you bring players who are 38, 39. Yeah, they all got injuries. They're all too old. Also, the league at that time was too condensed and in a very short time. And if you invest so much money in those players, yeah, that's lost. That's lost of money. So, and I do understand they try, of course, to bring attention to the football in India. I understand that, but at the same time, there is still a category of players that are maybe a little bit less famous, and still on a good age, that still also can bring up the level of football. And yeah, that's what you need to look for. As in any job in the world, the most important thing is recruitment. So you can think from a point of perception. Let bring very important people, pay a lot of money, but if they don't contribute for what reason ever, either they are not fit enough, etc., when it comes to football, or we're bringing maybe less um, famous people, but we develop it over time, then it's also more sustainable, and it will also bring the level up on a football level, and that's what everybody wants. So I think they made some steps there in the last 2 years. You see better recruitment, so hopefully that continues.
We have Abhay Chhetri here says we miss you, Elko. Highlander Brigade loves you forever. Actually, it is very important thing, sir. I feel because I am also from Northeast. I feel the people of Northeast have a very good connection with you. We have loved you over not only because you have qualified to the playoffs, but they had some sort of a different connection with you. I feel over the past few years.
To be honest, not giving short, doing short to the Northeast United fans. Even last year in Kerala, not everybody, because in the end I know that result is important. But overall, most clubs where I always had a decent relationship, and I think a lot has to do with I'm very transparent. That means I don't. When it's good is good, and when it's no good is no good. And also, I like to interact a little bit with the fans, because I think that is important. You need to share. As a coach, I have a certain process with the things that I'm doing, and as a club, you need to communicate it to your fans. And if clubs are not doing that, now I will do it myself, because I think there needs to be a connection. And sometimes I'm criticized for it, or they think I'm seeking attention from fans. Not the case. I get attention enough from my wife and from my friends. What I'm talking about is, if the supporters feel and understand what I'm doing, it will also help me. So I will not go into deep discussions with fans, but I will try to communicate. Same thing what I'm actually doing now in the ISL, for the commentary. I started a small analysis channel where 10 minutes I try to contribute to the football, and it is not to pay attention, but yeah, you have to make it a little bit nice, and in the end, it's important to have that connection. And I always will try that.
One question: why only retired foreign players come to ISL? Why not newcomer? Is it you? Do you think it is due to the salary gap, or people who are playing in Europe don't prefer to come in and play in India because they might have a better chance in European football out there? So, what are your views on that, sir?
You mean a high professional player from Europe?
Yeah.
Why he's not coming? Yeah, that is easy to. I mean, if you can play in the Champions League or you can play in ISL Super League, that is easy. You want to play in the highest possible league. Any player. Um, the This is something sometimes what I, to be honest, I have to criticize Indian players a little bit for is the moment many Indian players, when they sign a good contract and they make some decent good money, they will quicker choose for the money than looking for the career in football. That means sometimes you change club while it's maybe a bit smarter to stay where you have more chances to play, and then they move to another club. They have a good contract, but then the next season you don't see them anymore. And I do understand it, because within India it is difficult to make certain steps. Even from India to go to other leagues is difficult. But yeah, the other way around, it's simple. Players in Europe who are on a decent level, they will not come to India because, yeah, in Europe or South America, or whatever, the level is simply higher, and you want to compete. There's no disrespect. It's just, I think, a no-brainer.
Uh, Very interesting question we would have here. Would you
Yeah.
like to comment on the big club pressure in Kolkata Maidan? Is this really something that plays on a coach's mind? Is there any external pressure from the officials? Basically, we want to talk about Kolkata Derby, the East Bengal Mohun Bagan. As a coach, player, and the management, what are the different type of approaches in the match, sir? We would like to know.
Um, there is for sure a gap between uh, management and coach. In most clubs in India, it already made a lot of improvement. So any club, it doesn't matter either if it's East Bengal uh, before or Mohun Bagan, people who run these clubs, um, they are people from corporate world. Maybe they play themselves also football. That is possible. But in the end, what I believe is, so there will always be influence. But most European clubs, the structure, you have owners or a board. They ask a technical director to appoint a coach, and you start working. And when things are not going that great, what you see in Asian countries, there's not only in India, those owners or the one who are on the top of the list, they get emotional and they are getting impatient. That gap already became a bit smaller. So for me, it is very important to have a direct connection with these people, and you discuss and you try to understand that everything is a process. So if you translate that to current situation, there are still within clubs, yeah, that is sometimes difficult, because I will um, I will explain it to you in a very simple way. Let's say that you own how do you call it, a company for aviation company. So you're an
Okay.
owner of it, yes. So the one who owns that company, he will not go to the pilot and tell him how to fly. That will not happen, because you will recruit pilots and they will do their jobs. Why will they not interfere? Because basically flying is not depending on a direct result. You have a skill and you do fly, and sometimes a plane can crash, but overall that is safe. In football, the result, either you have a good coach or a bad coach. With a good coach you can lose, and with a bad coach you can win. That is part of football. And to understand that process, that is something still that needs to grow. If you ask me if there is pressure from fans and from management, yes. But at the same time, I've been a long time in football. Pressure for me is if you don't know what you're doing. If I'm convinced with what I'm doing, I will not have pressure. There will be a good tension. But if fans and management start interfering in a way because they don't understand what you're doing, that can cause problems. But then still, I will, maybe in the beginning of my career, but not anymore. I will not lose my mind in a way like, oh, I'm scared. That is just part of trying to deal with it. And what I will always try, I go back what I just said, I will try to find communication, honest communication. That means, what are we doing here? Is it just me that we're losing? Is it just because of me, or is it also something maybe within the structure of the club, or maybe we didn't recruit the right players? You need to be honest there, and that is something that if you have that well organized, then you also bear fruits in the long run. I'm 100% sure.
Sir, one thing, when you started the stream, you mentioned it that India is a sleeping giant in football. And here, one of our viewers wants to know, will India play in FIFA World Cup in 10 years' time? 2022 Qatar World Cup is a dream for us now. There is no way we can qualify. What do you think of the next World Cups where the team is trying to build a team that can go into the World Cup? What are your views on that, sir?
Okay, if I analyze that in a theoretical, logic way, I say no. And why is that? Look at all the countries in the Middle East: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. The only country that actually, not on a regular basis, but had a little bit of a chance to qualify for the World Cup was Saudi Arabia.
So good.
And that is not every 4 years that they qualify. Yes, no. And then you're talking about a country who is already have a decent league structure, who is ahead of India. So if these countries already have a huge difficulty to qualify, then for India, it's also very difficult. If in the next 10 years, the structure of the league only become better, then I would say there is always a chance. There is always, because football is so unpredictable, maybe you have a good flow of games, maybe you get into in a flow. It's possible, but theoretically and logically, it's a big step still to take. So
Sir,
let's hope. Yeah, let's hope, and let's. What I really look forward to, or what I really like, is that India would build the best possible infrastructure, so all teams play more games. The more games you play, the more development you get.
that is the thing I wanted to ask, sir. ISL, which is now in the top of Indian football, just 11 teams, ranging around maximum of 3 to 4 months. So, is it doing any good, or there should be more teams with a longer time span?
Last year, around the end of the season, or it was somewhere in January, I think, we came all together with the ISL and the coaches, and basically there was a decision for this year to play more games. That means each team would play 3 times against each other. That was the plan, but probably because of COVID, and that is killed. But absolutely, if you really want to start competing with other countries, then you have to play more games, because now we have 11 teams. That means 22. So you'll play 20 games. If you reach the final, maybe a few more. But basically, you play 20 games in one season. That is never enough to compete in an international level. So you need to play more games. The plan was there, but I think because of COVID-19, that got cancelled.
Uh, Prediction from today's match. Today we have Northeast playing against Mumbai FC, if I'm not wrong. So, what
Um,
do you think?
yeah, I'm always honest. I think it's going to be very difficult for Northeast. But the thing is, it's an opening game. Any opening game, the first game you play of the season for both teams, you never know what to expect. So that means Mumbai was not able to analyze the Northeast, because there are no friendly games that you can analyze, and vice versa. But looking on paper, Mumbai has, in my opinion, the best team in the league. And what I always look for is the spine of the team, from the goalkeeper, defender, midfield, striker, they have the best players. And what I mean is they have a top goalkeeper. He's the number 2 of India, but I think even maybe same as Bangalore goalkeeper. They have a very good defender, Murtada Fall. On the midfield, they have a lot of options, from Indian Burgess to foreign Jahu with Bomos.
Boom.
And then up front, they have 2 really good striker, Bart Ogbeche, who proved his value at 2 clubs. And then Lefondre, who came in, who is also known for scoring ability. So on paper, normally I think Mumbai would win. But it's an opening game, and an opening game you never know. That's would be. So I'm not going to predict a score, but based on that logic, I would say Mumbai has more chance to win.
Sir, speaking of Rollin Borges, he has been in your team with Northeast United also, and then he has shifted to other clubs. Do you think he is a little bit underrated in Indian football? People don't understand actually his gameplay, and he does not get the attention which he deserves.
When I came the first year, or as an assistant, I right away recognized what kind of a player Borges is, at least the way I would like to use him. He didn't have any good feedback. He didn't get good feedback. He was not doing well in that season, or even the season before. There was some criticism there. The season after, look, in the end, Burgess did everything himself. So when he was with me, he's the one who needs all the credit. But what I try to do is to use him in his qualities that I think he has. He has the quality to score goals as a midfielder. He has the ability to distribute. And how to do that, that's what I was trying to do. It's basically when you have a certain character, when you have certain qualities, you try to create circumstances that make somebody shine. And I hope I contribute to that, because the move from Northeast to Mumbai, was for him really good. And last season also he had a good season. And I think that he now reached a stable position within Indian football. But of course, he needs to keep proving it. But if you ask me, was he underrated? Yes, absolutely. Because he's one of my favorite players, to be honest.
I also like him very much. Yeah, he's like the one he's silent and keeps on doing his job.
Yeah. But as I said, and this is only to recognize, if you go watch videos, the amount of times that Burgess gets into the in the 16-yard into the box, and the ball is not coming, the cross is not coming, but he's there on the right moment. Many people don't see that. And with Northeast, when I was there, I think he scored 5 goals and he had a few good assists. So that means his scoring, he has the scoring ability, and he has the ability to arrive on the right moment in the box. And that is not what many see, because everyone wants to use him as a defensive midfielder. He can do that, but I think he can play box to box. That he can.
This is the question which every Indian has in mind. A population of 140 crore. Even Assam is a state which has a larger population than Iceland, who is playing in the World Cups. So, what are the things are we actually lagging behind? Is the infrastructure, or the baby leagues, the junior level we are not able to nurture properly? What is the thing do you think missing in Indian football, sir?
Yeah, that's a very, very simple question to answer, because why is India top in cricket? Any young kid that is born, as soon as he gets motor skills to walk, parents will somehow involve him into cricket. So that means you learn it from a young age. I think that I'm not sure, but I don't know how the cricket leagues over India, how they are, how many leagues there are. But with football, many kids, they start playing football maybe within their school or whatever, but a little bit organized. There are not many clubs where you have youth development. So if kids start playing when they're 14, 15 years old with a club, that is already very late. So it has all to do with infrastructure. It all has to do with proper leagues on the grassroots level.
This was something which was highlighted. We had a session with Nadong Bhutia sir. He was also an Indian footballer. He was a part of Mumbai FC. So he told the same thing, that when he was in Mumbai team, Mumbai had Nicolas Anelka with them.
Hmm.
So when he had a conversation, Anelka asked him that what was the age when you joined the academy. He told I was like 11 or 13 when I joined my first academy. And
No.
the other guy was laughing that in our place we join an academy when we are 3 to 4 years of age.
Yeah.
So we get more time to develop ourselves.
Absolutely. Look, it's even not. Again, I go back to the part of cricket. I'm sure that in any place, wherever on the street, even if you don't play organized cricket with a club, you will find everywhere they're playing cricket from young age, maybe in your backyard with friends, etc. That's how you develop skill. And in order to as a nation, as a country, to grow on the international level, then you need to have also infrastructure, so you can join a club and you can compete, and that's how over time a nation will grow. But if there's no infrastructure there, and you can only join football at a certain age, like late, yeah, that's logic that then you will also not will be able to compete on the international level.
One very interesting question we have here, talking about international football. What do you think is going wrong in Barcelona and Manchester United? If you had been there, what would you will approach? Very,
No,
very.
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Uh, no, it is something like Manu and Barcelona were the powerhouse few years back. But though Manu started to decline little early than Barcelona, but
Yeah.
Barcelona has not been doing well in the past 6 7 seasons. So how would you describe that, sir?
First of all, I will start with Man United, because they had. This has nothing to do with that they don't have quality players, or that the league is no good. Manchester United had for 20 years or even longer, I think, Sir Alex Ferguson as a coach. So that means there is one person, one coach for 20 years who builds a certain structure within that club, an organizational structure. If that suddenly get broken, and you have to bring in a new coach, then, and they even also the club, they change their financial situation by going to how do you call it, to the stock market. They brought in an owner from America, I think he is. That means it has all to do with the culture, the structure of the club. That means the decision making. And what is a big issue in the decision making is the recruitment of the players. That has been a big issue. So you go from a coach who knows everybody in the club. He decides for 20 years long which players to choose. You go to a structure where you bring in a new coach, you bring in a new owner, and then you have to set up a different structure, a different way of working. And that over time, yeah, if you don't choose the right players and you don't have success, then it becomes like a vicious circle almost. The same thing happened to Arsenal. Exactly the same thing. Now they're starting to be a little bit to get out of it, but still it's very difficult. Arsenal had Arsene Wenger, who for a long, long time, and also they struggled for the last, what is it now, 5, 6 years? I don't know, of 3 years. How long is Arsene Wenger out? With
3 years.
Barcelona, yeah, they had such a top success under Guardiola, where Messi was the main focus, and all the team was built around that, brought in young talents. And the moment Guardiola went away, yeah, they were not able to find the right coach, in my opinion, that could bring that same level, could take the same thing out of the players. And that went that far that, of course, Messi gets older. There was a lot of change. Neymar, he came, he left again. Everything in the end with Barcelona is the how do you call it? The recruitment of the players. The culture there, they will always want to play the same style. Although they brought in that was last season or the season before, a coach who played sometimes 4-4-2. That's not Barcelona style. And you could see that with Messi, he was not happy. And for me, that part is just, they have to start recruiting again young players and start rebuilding a new team. With the other two examples, Manchester United and Arsenal, has more to do with the change of the culture. As I said, a coach 20 years there, and then suddenly you get a different setup. That is different. That is very difficult to find that certain stability.
Sir, for Barcelona, do you think they miss Guardiola more, or do they miss the presence of Iniesta and Xavi in the midfield more?
That is a part of it, 100%. I mean, if you had two midfielders, Xavi and Iniesta, who are like top, and they leave, and the replacement of that is what's his name, Rakitic. He did a good
Rakitic.
job, but for instance, last year, what's his name? I forget his name. He's a box-to-box player, very wild. He went now to Juventus, I think.
Arthur.
What's his name?
Arthur.
Sorry?
Arthur.
No. He's from South America. I can't forget his name. But he's not really a creative player. He's more a box-to-box running. So that creativity absolutely is missing. They brought now Frankie de Jong. Frankie de Jong is a fantastic player. But yeah, he's basically the same player as Busquets, in my opinion. And Busquets also getting older. So that would be a good replacement. But the creativity, the playmakers, they are not replaced. So that's part of the puzzle, 100%. And that's why I said everything is about recruiting, rebuilding the team. And while in the other clubs, it's more about the culture. You go from one certain infrastructure to a different infrastructure.
Sir, which Indian player do you think is a true gem? Your favorite Indian player?
Look, Borges, but Borges is older. If you look at younger players, I'm a big fan of Putia, who was with the Northeast. He went to Kerala. The problem is the optics of, if you look at Putia, he looks slow, but he's a very quick thinker on the ball. So it's again about how do you use him? Do you put him in a team that plays football, and do you give him confidence? I'm 100% sure he would be a really good player. There is one player with Bangalore, also a midfielder. I'm a little bit bad with names. That is just my thing. That is a player, a very good midfielder that I really like. But if I have to choose one, I'm really a big fan of Putia, and I really hope that somehow he gets more time this year with Kerala Blasters.
Two or three players, sir. I would like to mention the names. Just tell how you feel of them. What do you think about
Okay.
Udanta Singh? He is very fast, and
Yeah.
how do you rate him, sir?
First of all, a player who is that fast, he is pretty skillful. But it's all about how do you use a player. What I see, if you use that player only for playing counterattack and only like go run, he will not be too happy. And so again, it comes down to how do you use a certain player. I think, if you have speed, if you have so much speed, that is always a weapon. There's always a weapon in any team. We had in Holland before Mark Overmars. He was technically very poor. But what Louis van Gaal did with him, he learned him. It's called a scissor. You make the scissor and you play the ball. So you try to. It's a feint. You make a feint on the ball to make the opponent make a misstep. He played the ball and crossed the ball in. He made him extremely effective. Only just to teach him one certain skill in order for to use his speed. And with Udanta, it's the same in the playing style. If you only use him for running, that's difficult. But I think he has good qualities. But his effectiveness last season, that was not very high. He got a lot of criticism, that's for sure.
This is another name I wanted to ask you, Sahal Abdul Samad. I feel he is very talented, but how would you rate him? How would you rate his future prospects in Indian football, sir?
Um, if you look at skill, if you look at ball control, if you look at it's almost I compare it with ballet. You know, the fluentness on the ball, fantastic, top. But I think Sahal is already 23, so that means he really needs to start stepping up now in order to prove his value. But again, I look at effectiveness. Forget about this season. Last season, the season before, and the national team, he played around 45 games. I did want to have some research of 48 games. He had 2 assists and 1 goal, I think. And if you're an attacking midfielder, that's not enough. You cannot just say, oh, the coach used me in a wrong way or whatever. So quality, fantastic. But in the end, you need to learn how to be effective. And that's the same thing that example I gave you of Overmars, who was very fast, had no skill. But how do I do something in order to use my speed to be value for the team? With Sahal is the same. He has amazing skills, and how do we transform that he can use that to be effective? And for an attacking midfielder, you need to score and you need to give assists.
Sir, speaking of Indian football, it would be incomplete if we don't talk about Sunil Chhetri, sir. Uh,
Yeah.
he is almost into the last stages of his career. How would you rate him? Though I read an interview of him in which he said that while he was in the European football, they marked him as he was not that very good. He himself accepted that he was not so fast in comparison to the European footballers. But speaking of Indian conditions, speaking of Indian footballers, how do you rate Sunil Chhetri, sir? And do you think India has any player who is ready to fill up the boots when Sunil sir leaves?
Um, if you talk about Sunil, I uh, look. I don't know if you remember a striker from AC Milan, Inzaghi.
Yeah.
Inzaghi was a striker who, and I know that from Dutch players that I spoke to, like we have Clarence Seedorf who played with AC Milan. It's not like I spoke to Clarence, but within football you always get information. I have a good friend who was very close to Clarence Seedorf. One of the things is that Inzaghi was always, whenever we played possession games or a rondo, they put him out because he had no skill. He had no skill. But he had one ability to be on the right spot at the right time to score goals. With Sunil, I think Sunil has skill, but he has somehow the ability on top of that to be always on the right position and the right time. Is Sunil a player who dribbles? And no, he's not. He doesn't have that skill. But his ability to score goals, and I'm sure he only developed that because his mentality, the will to improve, you can see that in everything he does. That made him really stand out in India. And yeah, till now there is no one in India who proved to have his goal scoring record. So that means he's doing something right. And if I analyze it from a coach point of view, I would say, yes, he has good skills, either if it's in the dribble, in the passing. But does he really stand out in that? No. He really stands out showing up in the box and finish it. Either it's from a shot, even with a head, he's there always on the right moment. And that's golden. That's golden. Is there another Sunil Chhetri in India? Yes. But then I go back to it's all about mentality. How bad do you want to improve yourself? I see enough players where I say they have good skills, they have enough good quality, but how bad do you want to improve yourself? That's the key. So yes, there for sure will be replacements, but that depend more on the mentality than on the quality of the play.
Another question: what do you think about Indian coaches? We have had successful coaches in the past, Armando, Bhomik, Subrata sir. But do you think they are getting enough chances? It is like they want results in the first season. Do they need more time? What is your view on that, sir?
Um, Yeah, for sure. There will be good coaches, and I worked with a few good coaches. But if you only work in India and only on the level of this, it is difficult for you as a coach to develop. For me, for instance, me leaving Holland and working with different cultures, working with even for the level in Holland of football basically should be higher than in India. So when you, as a coach, step to a lower level, you get complete different problems to deal with. That also means you have to develop. I know a lot of coaches who come either to India, to the Middle East. The first season they fail, they get frustrated because this is not organized, that is not organized. And to deal with these things, that makes you a better coach. So I think for Indian coaches to really develop, it would be good if they get a chance, for sure, to coach on the highest level within India, but also to look outside India, get chance to get an internship with clubs and see how things go. And that is with everything in the world. It doesn't matter where you are. Everywhere is talent, everywhere is quality. You only need the right platform to show it.
Uh, Mumbai City is somehow interconnected with Man City. They have a partnership, they have a tie-up now. So, do you think this is a good move for development of ISL in Indian football, sir?
Yeah, if the Man City group, they are famous. They have many corporations. They are well structured, well organized, and if they, besides financially, but also by infrastructure, can improve. In this case, Mumbai City. That is only a progression also for Indian football. So that's only a plus. There's not much more you need to say about that. That is always good.
Sir, we are almost coming to the end part. We have had a lot to talk with you. We have had a lot to learn from you, sir. And it was very kind of you, the way you reciprocated to our messages for the first time when we talked to you for about this show. It was very nice to talk to you, sir. It was very nice to have you on our show. And thank you so much that you have spared a long time from your busy schedule to come and talk to us. And yeah, we have a thank you note again from one of our fans. Thank you, Elko. We would love to see you in Kolkata again.
Yeah.
So definitely a lot of Indian fans also love you. And once the corona thing is over, once we have the full grounds again, hopefully we'll able to meet you again. Hopefully we'll able to talk to you again, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much
Uh,
for joining us.
as
Yeah,
I
yes,
said
sir.
from the as I said from the beginning, for me, I do a lot of interviews, especially in India, and a big part of that is if you want to build something, you do it stone by stone, and if you share knowledge, this is not about just having a fun interview. I try to share the knowledge that I have, and somehow maybe that's another stone in order to build Indian football, because I'm always thankful to have a job, and I also always want to give something back. And the best way to do that is to build relationships, either if that with club, with supporters, because I love football, and try to give something back. So thank you, and I wish all to the listeners all the best, and hopefully you have a beautiful ISL season.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. It was great to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who has joined us. Thank you. There were so many good questions to ask. Thank you, everyone,
Yes,
and have a very good day. Thank you, sir.
thank you. Bye bye.
Good.
Bye. How do I sign out?
I'll do that. You can
Okay, all
just
right.
remove it from the browser.
Okay.